they've been trying to for so long. Now they just don't seem to be all that bothered with it. Like, I don't really, y'all are poor, so F you.
Yeah.
I mean, that's really all it is. Like, y'all ain't rich. Y'all ain't got a lot of
Mhm.
resources and assets. So, that's all. It's really not more complicated than that.
Yeah.
Rick
It's
Scott,
Rick Scott.
think about that dude talking about fraud.
Ooh, well, alrighty then. Yeah, the nursing homes, Florida, that was, I mean, and then the fine was a drop in the bucket compared to what it's encouraging you to do this kind of abuse. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, not you, not me, because if you look a certain way, they put you up under the jail, you understand?
Mhm.
Okay. So don't you try it, but other people can. Look, it's as if, not as if, we have this underlying thing in this country and elsewhere. Poor equals lack of integrity, lazy. You did something to land in this circumstance instead of what's staring you in the face. America, you better look at your life. Jackson, it's always fun being on with you. I really love being on with you. And I like your mellow, substantive arguments. And I just appreciate you.
Well, thank you. I always appreciate being on with you as well. I think we work well together, and I'm looking forward to a lot more of it for sure.
Yeah. And we're looking forward to seeing more of you on TYT. This is The Aftermath. Thanks for joining us. John will be back. Sharon Reed, Jackson White, and we hope you'll join us again.
Welcome to Indisputable. I am Ben Gleib, sitting in temporarily for Dr. Rashad Ritchie, who's feeling a bit under the weather, but he will be joining us in a bit on today's broadcast as well. We're going to get the show on the road. Regardless, sorry, we're a little bit late trying to figure things out. Health is a real thing, my friends. Health is a real thing, and it ain't always a straight line. So we're doing the best that we can to bring these stories to you, and we have a very interesting one to kick it all off with. Iwao Hakamada is the world's longest serving death row prisoner. He was wrongly convicted of a quadruple murder and has now been exonerated and awarded $1.4 million after 46 years spent on death row in Japan. The former boxer is now 89 years old. A Japanese man who spent nearly 50 years on death row before he was acquitted of murder will be compensated 217 million yen, the equivalent of $1.45 million, and what his lawyers say is the country's largest ever payout in a criminal case. On this screen here, you can see the journey to freedom for this man, starting in 1966 with an arrest for quadruple murders of his boss and his boss's family that he did not commit, and then being sentenced, and then years later a retrial, and then 27 years later, a second retrial motion being filed. Then 6 years later, a retrial being ordered and being freed from prison, finally on bail. Then 4 years later, it took for the ruling to be annulled on appeal. And then another 5 years till another retrial was ordered. And the following year, just last year, declared finally innocent. What a miscarriage of justice. Iwao Hakamada, 89 years old, was found guilty, like I mentioned, in 1968 of killing his boss's wife, and their 2 children, but was acquitted last year after a retrial. Mr. Hakamada's lawyers had sought the highest compensation possible, arguing that the 47 years in detention, which made him the world's longest serving death row inmate, took a toll on his mental health. I imagine it would. Judge Kunikoshi, who granted the request on Monday, agreed that he had suffered extremely severe mental and physical pain. The Japanese government will pay Mr. Hakamada's financial compensation in what local media is widely reporting as the biggest payout for a criminal case in the country's history. This case is one of the most famous in Japanese history, and to give you a little more history and context on it, the deaths back in 1966, to set the stage of what happened there, Mr. Hakamada was working at a miso processing plant back in '66 when the bodies of his boss's wife, and their 2 children were recovered from a fire at their home in Shizuoka, west of Tokyo. All 4 had been stabbed to death. Authorities accused Mr. Hakamada of murdering the family, setting fire to their home, and stealing 200,000 yen in cash. Mr. Hakamada initially denied doing so, but later gave what he came to describe as a coerced confession following beatings and interrogations that lasted up to 12 hours a day. In 1968, he was sentenced to death. For years, Mr. Hakamada's lawyers argued that DNA recovered from the victim's clothes did not match his, and alleged that the DNA evidence was planted. He was granted a rare retrial and released from prison in 2014 amid suspicions that investigators may have planted evidence that led to his initial conviction. Last year, hundreds of people gathered at a court in Shizuoka where a judge handed down the acquittal to loud cheers of "Banzai" in Japanese. Mr. Hakamada, however, sadly was unfit to attend the hearing. He was exempted from all prior hearings because of his deteriorated mental state. He had lived under the care of his 91-year-old sister, Hideko, since being granted a retrial and released from prison in 2014. Hideko had fought for decades to clear her brother's name. Here you can see a photo of the chief of Shizuoka's police force apologizing to Hakamada this week, and filmed bowing in that apology to Hakamada and his family. You like to see the apology, but I'd say far too little, far too late. The case has raised questions about Japan's justice system, including the time taken for a retrial and the allegations of forced confessions. A really troubling story, a sad story, a happy-ish ending, but it just really reminds us how the training of police, not only here in our country, but around the world, just has to be so much better, and the punishment for bad police action, behavior, and activity needs to be so much more severe, just so that when somebody gets the awesome power, the incredible power of being part of a police force and being charged with enforcing the laws, that they do not ever take advantage of that for the ease or for the malpractice of what they plan to do under that badge. Imagine coercing through beatings a guilty confession of murder you did not commit, and then your whole life goes by and not flashes before your eyes, but very slowly ticks away as you're put on death row for decades upon decades, thinking that your life could be taken by the state at any minute for something you did not do. Of course, your mental health would deteriorate. A monetary prize doesn't do it justice, but at least in the end, justice was served. We'll be right back.
Our audience has given us everything, so we couldn't be more connected. When we first started, people would start giving us directions and say, okay, the mics are too large, move them. Turn them into lav mics. I mean, they were incredible. And then one guy walked in and gave us a really expensive switcher and said, you guys need this, and walked out. Okay, it's amazing. They helped us build a studio. They did a $2 million funding campaign for us. And so they really are us. We do this show together to the point where some of our hosts are even former listeners. So when we say that the audience is part of TYT, we really mean it.
I think what the audience also appreciates is especially if they're members, they really get an inside look into who we are, our personal lives, what drives and motivates us. It goes beyond just storytelling. I think that what we do is allow our viewers and our listeners into our daily lives, and we give them kind of like this inside look into everything that we're passionate about and why it is that we're doing what we're doing, right? Like the motivation behind what we're doing, I think is important for our audience to know, and we're not shy about sharing that with them. And it's different from what people typically see in legacy media outlets where everything is kind of dry and robotic and there's really no personality or authenticity that comes along with it. Oftentimes when we're doing the show, I don't really think of it as me telling them stories. I think of it as us having a mutual respect and conversation with one another. And as I said earlier, I mean, not only do I feel that through the work I do, I'm informing our audience, but they inform me oftentimes as well. You know, they'll pitch stories to us. They'll tell us, you know, a certain perspective or angle to a story that we might have missed. And I love it.
You're about to watch some behind the scenes footage of the Young Turks. Ooh. Now these are partial videos. If you want to get all of them, you become a member, go to tyt.com/join, and you'll get all the behind the scenes of me, Anna, John, JR, a little bit reality show like. tyt.com/join and enjoy this.
You know what you're seeing behind me? Jersey, hold. Watch me flip this camera. However I flip it. Do I flip it like this? No, I just took a picture. I'm bitsing right now.
What?
Behind the scenes.
Oh, okay. For members? I don't have my face on.
She doesn't have her face on, folks. Oh, that's JR's ass right there.
You can't take 5 minutes off, can you?
No, I can't, Johnny. Bye. I said it was live stream, but I was lying. It's not a live stream. It's just for members. Bitsy, this is my cat. You know what his name is? Kiki Cat.
Animals are innocent. Control room and the insanity is obviously there.
Right now, as you can see, I'm directing or tech directing. I'm so happy to be here.
This is what like a Labor Day beard looks like for Cenk. Man, you're a Young Turks viewer if you recognize me like this.
Such a big fan. Oh, thank you. You are the one person in my life I would love to meet.
What's going on, guys? This is a Bitsy or a BTS or behind the scenes with Hassan Piker, AKA Woke Bay.
Oh, hi, I didn't see you there.
I have finished my show, The Damage Report, and now I get into a really awkward time of the day.
When I'm sitting, the control room is right there. So I can see Bart.
This is the Pittsburgh office, by the way. I refer to often as the boiler room.
You see how it's ripped? Is it super unprofessional to wear that at a business meeting? Or am I like cool, rebel?
I just finished doing the power panel and I'm fired up.
What do you do for TYT?
Not a whole lot.
If you're frantically tweeting at us that something's broken, thank you, because I'm fixing it.
And thank you for being a TYT member.
Super last thing, because there's always got to be a super last thing.
Oh, that was disastrous. This has been behind the scenes, behind the scenes.
What up? Welcome back. Always thankful for my brother Ben taking the lead role for the first segment. We have a lot of stories to cover. Okay, here it is. Donald Trump decided to dox the New York Attorney General, Letitia James. Here it is. Put it up full mass. Donald Trump shares address for property owned by New York Attorney General Letitia James, sparking massive backlash online. It's not the first time he's done so. According to the Midas Touch Network, Trump shared a blog last week titled, quote, A.G. James building permits raise serious questions, which question the number of units at a property that she owns and alleged administrative misconduct over her permit filings for the dwelling, okay? The article included documents showing James' previous filings for the property, which included the home's address, which was intentional, obviously. So in October 2023, Trump shared an article by far-right activist Laura Loomer that contained the home address of the Attorney General. At the time, this raised questions about if he violated a gag order by the judge who oversaw the trial that determined the multi-million-dollar payout he would have to pay for fraudulently inflating his own worth and his value, his assets, et cetera, to advance his business needs, typically loans. That trial was triggered by a lawsuit that James filed against Trump and his sons, as well as his real estate enterprise. The gag order prevented Trump from speaking publicly about court staffers after he made a false comment in reference to the judge's law clerk. But James does not work on the judge's staff, so the order did not apply to her. Trump's recent post exposing the address of the Attorney General drew backlash online. Some users even thought Trump's intent was to endanger the Attorney General by amplifying the blog. Quote, posting the private information of an Attorney General prosecuting you is not a legal defense. It's intimidation, plain and simple. One ex-user wrote, quote, he's basically ordering a hit and the crazies know it, one person added. You know, obviously it was intentional to not take the address out. So I have a different point of view than some. So they don't take the address out. It's intentional to leave the address in, but I don't think this is about the address. I don't think that's the crux of it. I don't think that's the motivation. I think the motivation is he's now doing the thing he does routinely, and he does it well with his MAGA group and cronies. He is now making a narrative against Letitia James. And the narrative he's making is that she has been involved in some level of financial dishonesty, whatever it may be. And if that's true, that would mean that alleged crime would have dual jurisdiction, meaning it would fall under the preview of both the state and the federal government, which, by the way, he controls the federal government. So I see this as the beginning of a campaign against the Attorney General, not civil, but criminal, campaign against her, launched by the guy who was prosecuted by her, who happens to be the current president. It's a damn shame. All right, Ben, thoughts here.
Donald Trump is doing what Donald Trump does here. You know, as you reminded everybody, this all stemmed from the case that James brought against him for fraudulently inflating his own worth, which, by the way, should be his social media bio on all platforms. Donald Trump, fraudulently inflating my own worth. And he does it in every way. And you're exactly right. He's just trying to create basically the witch hunt he always accuses people of doing on him, but with major evidence, now doing with seemingly no real evidence against the people who are against him. What I love to see is how focused he is on the problems of the American people. The man who just learned what groceries were, just learned that term during the end of the last campaign, seems not super focused on bringing those grocery prices down, fixing the stock market, fixing the economy, fixing the people that are being fired at a rapid rate from some of the most vital agencies we have in this country, whether it's the FAA, which is having problems galore and it can't find enough air traffic controllers, or it's Social Security Administration shuttering offices in remote areas and taking away the phone verification system. So older people now have to struggle to be able to collect the meager checks that they're able to do. They're able to collect to live the golden years of their lives. Yet so far, none of the targeting seems to affect any big subsidies of big corporations. It's not targeting any of the people with abundance. And instead, he takes his free time and targets portraits of himself he doesn't like in state offices, and personal attacks on attorneys general who are just trying to enforce the law. It's pretty disgusting, but at this point, you can't be surprised. This is just Donald Trump doing Donald Trump.
Yeah, and added to that list of targets, also veterans. Obviously on his, list of people he doesn't care about. All right, we got more on the other side. It's indisputable. Stick and stay.
Hey everyone, Matteo Scarapore here, author of Black Buck, which is Shop TYT's first fiction book ever. I'm honored. So, Black Buck is about a young man named Darren who's living in Bed-Stuy, Brooklyn. He lives with his mom, he has his girlfriend, he has his best friend, he has his neighborhood, and his neighborhood has him. Darren's also working at a Starbucks in Midtown Manhattan. And one day, this man, who's real suave and good looking, comes in and asks Darren to give him his regular. But for some reason, Darren says no. This man named Rhett Daniels, who's the CEO of a startup called Someone, located on the 36th floor of the same building, is impressed. And he invites Darren upstairs, and then he extends an offer to join his elite sales team. Darren reluctantly joins, and he soon realizes that he's not the only black salesperson there. He's the only black person in the entire company. So he goes through hell and back in order to make it to the top. And once there, he has status, money, power, but he says, you know what? I don't like being the token black guy. So he hatches a plan to help other people of color infiltrate America's tech startup sales teams, redefining what it means to be a minority in the workplace. This book definitely, if you couldn't tell, touches on many things that are relevant to this moment that we're all living in right now. But it's also connected to the many moments in history that have come before today. I hope that you read it. I hope that you enjoy it. And if you want to order a copy, go to shoptyt.com. Thank you, be well, and happy 2021.
Here's the inside scoop on diners in LA. You want good pastrami sandwich, you go to Factors. You want to see some people in the business, you go to Nate and Al's. You want the best variety? My secret spot's the Nosh. Now here's the inside scoop on politics and news. You go watch the Young Turks live every day at 6 o'clock Eastern.
All right, welcome back. Always good to have every single one of you join the conversation. I'm going to check for comments. Always remember to watch Indisputable here. And if you miss it, check out the podcast, Indisputable, virtually anywhere you get your podcast. Okay. This will be interesting. All right. Yeah. So Cena Huggleboom says 1.4 million. That's chump change. How about 114 million? Talking about the death row inmate wrongfully convicted. And yeah, I agree. Nish says that's awful, and considering Japan's super high prosecution rate, I can't help but wonder how many other people this happened to. That's the issue. Microcosm, macrocosm. My heart goes out to him. They wasted his entire life. All right. Cop suspended for failing to intervene as a driver is assaulted. I think the cop should be arrested. All right, put it at full mask. So this is in Miami. A Miami cop has been suspended after local news shows actual surveillance footage of a pack of bicyclists attack a driver in the middle of the street, broad daylight. Everybody sees it. She said in her car, watched it as if she ordered it herself. Okay. Miami police officer has now been suspended from her duties after being accused of failing to intervene in a melee that took place right in front of her police cruiser and involved multiple people who brutally attacked one man in broad daylight. So here's the background. The camera show the moments leading up to the brawl when a driver stopped at an intersection near 14th Street and got out of his car to speak to an officer parked in the middle of the street. A bicyclist is also seen confronting the man as he approaches the police cruiser. And the two begin arguing. As the man walks back to his car, multiple bicyclists swarm him and his vehicle and began beating him in the middle of the street. All right, so the footage shows the group of bicyclists punching and kicking the motorist, slamming a bicycle on top of him. One person was seen climbing on his car and stomping on the windshield until it shattered. All right, so keep that picture up for a minute. This is the first time in my natural life I've ever seen bicyclists roll like this. And maybe this is something that is more common than I assumed. I don't know. No idea. But there's a lot more to the story, okay? So all of this happened in front of the cop, in front of the actual police cruiser. So that means that everybody who saw this, everyone saw that there's an officer allowing it because the cruiser is there. And she's watching, okay? All right, so she never left the car to intervene. Backup arrived. She then gets out of her car. When the other officers finally arrived, one of them tackled another individual, prompting the other attackers to flee and to leave and get on their bikes and go. The officers also rendered aid to the victim, but they haven't released how severe his injuries were. The female officer who witnessed the brawl has now been relieved of her duties pending an internal police investigation. Put up the chief. This is the Miami police chief, Manuel Morales, and he said in the statement, quote, "The members of the Miami Police Department understand and take great pride in upholding their responsibility to protect and serve our community. We must act for the betterment of our community." So many viewers obviously condemned the officer's apparent lack of response, while some pointed out that she was outnumbered. Quote, "Our tax dollar going to waste We pay for police work, serve and protect, not ignore. She should get fired, one person wrote. So before I continue, I just want to remind everybody that while, yes, you may say she's outnumbered. No. She has 17 in the clip. And she may have one in the chamber. It's called a gun. That's why they have them. If this happened to be 5 or 6, maybe 7 Black individuals, young, jumping on a white male in the middle of the street, a cop is pulling out a gun. That's how it happens. That's in protection of life. So when there's an opportunity to protect life, to actually utilize your weapon in a way that's protective of life, to give a warning. Because obviously everybody who was a bicyclist who decided to do the cowardly act of engaging and jumping on one human being, but as soon as a cop came, everybody fled. But they did not care about the one cop who was watching them. I need to know why. All right. Also, it's unclear if the police plan to pursue any charges against the bicyclist for the role in the attack, which is another insanity to this story. One witness alleges the cyclist attacked the driver over an earlier hit and run, even though it hasn't been confirmed, nor has an arrest been made. All right, Ben, that's a hell of a story. What say you?
It is a hell of a story for sure. I mean, as you pointed out, this is not normally the way bicyclists roll, pun intended there. These guys are gonna have to get themselves some motorcycles because this is a tough group of bicycle riders. I heard as they sped off from this melee, they honked their cute horns a bunch and hit those little bells to let people know they might return. We do have to figure out what happened with this police officer. You know, she's a female police officer. We should obviously have female police officers, but we need any officer that signs up to be sure that they're not going to be afraid to enter into situations, because one other police officer arrived and everybody scattered. And so you gotta be willing to step up regardless of any reason that might have made her not comfortable intervening. Like you said, she's got a gun. A gun makes you as tough as anybody else. And so you need to be able to have that steely resolve to be able to stop a fight happening right in front of you. If you can't stop bicyclists that got out of control, what hope do we have for any sort of more intense situation that she is going to be facing? Bicyclists about as easy as you get, and she failed that test.
Yeah, and it was quite clear they were not armed. They were utilizing their bicycle to hit the man. They could have killed him right in front of her. All right, that's something for you, ladies and gentlemen. I wish a Karen would.
You want to call the police on them for having a barbecue on a Sunday?
I feel great! Back off! I'm going to tell them there's an African-American man threatening my life.
Get me a corner so I can hit my weed vape, J14. That's where I want to sit. Let's go. How can I help you?
Jew pig.
Did you call me a Jew pig?
Yeah, I did.
All right, buddy. I think that you should probably go.
We're gonna, buddy. I'm ordering the lift right now, Jew.
Okay. Why don't you order it out there? You, buddy.
We're Donald Trump in this country, buddy. You, Jew lover.
All right, so I feel like I'm in my Instagram right now. This is so crazy. Wow, you never see him IRL, and then once you do, you're kind of like, yeah, no, that's about what I thought.
Great pivot, great turnaround, great transmutation of bad energy into usable energy. People want to laugh. Very sad reality of bigotry. Put up the picture full mask. We have an interesting update, all right? So anti-Semitic male Karen Trumper harasses this comedian on stage. His name is Mike Glazer. While performing on stage, the comedian was harassed by a bigot who happens to be a Trump supporter. And he shared the incident on his IG. Also on his IG, a description. He updated it to say, adding no Nazis to my rider. Okay. So I actually have the best person to actually comment on it, another comedian. All right, Ben. he turned that around quickly, quick-witted, not as quick as you, dear brother. But it is a hallmark of the profession.
This is very true. Yeah, Mike Glazer there was put into a very tough, very intense situation. I've known Mike for a long time, and it's no fun. Sometimes the job as a road traveling comedian is to go into any city, blue, red, friendly, unfriendly, and do what you do. And this kind of thing happens. I've never had anti-Semitic hate spewed at me like Mike had to deal with here. I have had people say they support Hitler and during my sets, and I've posted those clips. This one is about as egregious as it gets, and also just shows the not only moral failings of a lot of Trump supporters, but also the confusion, because Trump has become a pretty good supporter of the Jewish people in America and of trying to stamp out anti-Semitism. So the guy is acting as, he's like, we support Trump over here, not the Jews. It's like, well, that's a strange even misunderstanding of what your own guy's position is, even though granted Trump has sent mixed messages on the topic over the years as well, by doing things also like having meals with Kanye and Nick Fuentes and not disavowing, white supremacists, and by telling Proud Boys to stand back and stand by and all these things, but also, like I said, has done some good things to try to stop anti-Semitic hate. The more direct point is that it's tough when you go into an audience of ignorant people, and sometimes they're going to shout out bile, and you have to not only handle the situation, you kind of have to act in those moments as like crowd control and still bring the humor. So Mike did a fabulous job with that great Instagram joke there at the end. He kept his cool also a lot better than I would have. I would have gotten very upset and aggressively told those guys to get out of the room. But that's just my style. You wish you lived in a world where this kind of thing didn't happen. I'm a proud Jewish man myself, and we stand together in the face of all a-holes. Can I say that?
Yeah, definitely. And another point that your context highlights, Trump supporters are just racist. They don't care about policy. They're not keeping up with Trump's trending new phase of who he likes and who he doesn't. They're just racist. They're racist individuals.
True. And also, Doc, the other point too is that regardless of what the current policies are, and this why it creates this sort of like moral gray haze in our nation, is the administration, from what Trump has said in the past and what Musk has done even recently with doing this, this Sig Heil, and even if it wasn't intentional, you'd think you'd go immediately and you'd disavow it so there's no confusion. And you'd think Trump would disavow it so there's no confusion. But that's not what they do. This administration seems clear, even if they take positions that are better for the Jewish people or for any group, they still are quite comfortable empowering anti-Semites, empowering racists. They want whoever can be on their team and their army of rebels, should they ever need them again, which they haven't already in the past. They have already in the past deployed them, like on J6 and other times. And so that's the real problem, when you don't have moral clarity and you want to just activate a bunch of misanthrope, horrible, disgusting people. Well, that's what you get. It now happens in even polite society, even in comedy clubs, out when you're just trying to have a good night out with your friends and family. So reap what you sow.
Yep. And big ups to Mike once again. Well done. We got more on the other side. Indisputable, stick and stay.
Hey everyone, Mateo Scarapore here, author of Black Buck, which is Shop TYT's first fiction book ever. I'm honored. So, Black Buck is about a young man named Darren who's living in Bed-Stuy, Brooklyn. He lives with his mom, he has his girlfriend, he has his best friend, he has his neighborhood, and his neighborhood has him. Darren's also working at a Starbucks in Midtown Manhattan. And one day, this man, real suave and good looking, comes in and asks Darren to give him his regular. But for some reason, Darren says no. This man named Rhett Daniels, who's the CEO of a startup called Someone, located on the 36th floor of the same building, is impressed. And he invites Darren upstairs, and then he extends an offer to join his elite sales team. Darren reluctantly joins, and he soon realizes that he's not the only black salesperson there. He's the only black person in the entire company. So he goes through hell and back in order to make it to the top. And once there, he has status, money, power, but he says, you know what? I don't like being the token black guy. So he hatches a plan to help other people of color infiltrate America's tech startup sales teams, redefining what it means to be a minority in the workplace. This book definitely, if you couldn't tell, touches on many things that are relevant to this moment that we're all living in right now. But it's also connected to the many moments in history that have come before today. I hope that you read it. I hope that you enjoy it. And if you want to order a copy, go to shoptyt.com. Thank you, be well, and happy 2021.
Here's the inside scoop on diners in LA. You want good pastrami sandwich, you go to Factors. You want to see some people in the business, you go to Nate and Al's. You want the best variety? My secret spot's the Nosh. Now here's the inside scoop on politics and news. You go watch the Young Turks live every day at 6 o'clock Eastern.
All right, welcome back. Always good to be with you. We got a lot of comments. I will read as many as I can. Mark NYC says, no excusing the cop, but as an aside, I wonder if the driver cut off the cyclist in traffic or otherwise assaulted the cyclist first. Quite possible. And that, to me, that's a separate situation, even though still likely outside of the law. The cop did nothing, even though it was done in front of her. So I'm with you on that. All right, Sister Carmen, I love and honor you, Dr. Rich. However, sick of this situation our people are in. That's right, you're uncomfortable. I'm uncomfortable. Don't like it. I tell my college students one of the greatest and overlooked feelings you will ever have is being uncomfortable. Because when you're uncomfortable, one or two things will happen. Either you will change the atmosphere so that there's comfort, or you will leave it because you're uncomfortable. One of those two things happen. So transformation takes place through discomfort, and that's why you watch the program. Really appreciate you. Yeah, Bobby, did she call for backup? It seems like she did call for backup at some point. We're not clear when. That's a great question. And Nell C says bicycles. You don't hear of bicycle gangs very often. Yeah, I had to reread the story to make sure. I had to see the video and the pictures. It's bicycles. You're right. All right. ESPN reporter makes a racially charged comment about Juju Watkins. Put it at full mass. Here we go. On Saturday, as the USC women's basketball team was playing a first-round tournament game against UNC Greensboro, ESPN sideline reporter Holly Rowe was discussing Watkins' impact on the university. However, in her attempt to compliment the star guard, Rowe pulled a Karen. Okay? Inadvertent. Quote, she, Watkins, is a cultural icon here in LA. I was at a game last year, and I thought I was at the BET Awards. Said Rowe. Every star in that community, we've seen so many people that just want to get a glimpse of her. Put the picture back up again. Man, black folks haven't watched BET since 2008. With the exception of the award shows here and there. Okay. All right. To no surprise, multiple black people on Twitter, damn black Twitter, caught wind of Roe's comments and made sure to criticize the veteran sports commentator for those comments. All _in_yo_tweets said, quote, Holly Rowe basically said, it was a lot of at USC games. Queen Her 11 commented on X, Holly Rowe just said she felt like she was at the BET Awards at a USC game. She said, quote, every star in that community was there. Interesting choice of words. So despite the clip of Rowe's words going viral, the ESPN reporter has yet to comment on the situation. Wise choice there, Ms. Rowe. The only thing she's said in regard to this is Watkins has been about the 19-year-old's tragic injury, which happened on Monday. So she's sticking to her job stuff. All right, in a post on X, she wrote, quote, just heartsick, sending love and healing to Juju. All right. Very interesting. So not malicious. I don't think it was malicious. All right. It definitely was one of those I have black friends thing. Right? Or what is it? What is it, Ben? They're so articulate. That's the other one. Yeah, you're so articulate. All right, brother, thoughts?
Yes, I think I'm the perfect person to comment on this story. Look, I agree with you. I don't think it was on purpose. I don't think it's the worst statement. I think that it was inartful for sure. I'm actually curious for you to elaborate on your thoughts as to if it really is a truly inappropriate comment, because I think it, like I said, it was inartfully phrased, but if there is going to be a BET Awards, can she not say that a lot of stars in the black community came out to support this athlete? How can she phrase it? Would it have been better if she'd said a lot of stars in the black community? So I feel like it's almost like giving the BET Awards. It's like saying, I felt like I was at the Oscars. But if she happened to notice that it was mostly black stars, she said BET Awards. I don't find it super offensive, but again, I'm not the target demo that would be offended. So I'm curious, Doc, am I wrong on it?
It's one of those urban reaches that, I'll give you an example. If you want to compliment the fact that black celebrities are there, or black stars are there, right? You are a Jewish comedian, okay? Your comedy transcends the Jewish community. And if I want to provide a compliment to you, I compliment the standard of your profession, the precision of delivery, you as a professional comedian. What she did is contextualized it into, well, there are black celebrities. Well, those are celebrities. Like black celebrities are regular ass celebrities. So if you had a lot of celebrities there, contextualizing it as a BET Awards, which by the way, that's not the framework you would expect to hear if you want to expand a person's compliment. You simply will say like an awards program. But you get the context there, brother. It seemed to give a compliment while at the same time trying to say, but urban though.
Yeah, no, it's a good point, because it is interesting as soon as you put it to my group, how much it hits different. So that really is why you have to respect people's interpretations within their own community of how things hit. Because as soon as you said that, I was like, wow, yeah, if she had said, wow, I went to Ben Gleib's stand-up show and it was like an ADL meeting there, or it was like the World Zionist Congress or something. Yep. I could see me being like, whoa, whoa, whoa. And it's even hard to even to say publicly. There was a lot of Jewish celebrities there supporting him. It's like, why make the distinction rather than just say a lot of celebrities came out? Or if you're gonna say it, then have the courage to identify the community directly and say there was amazing support from the Jewish community for Ben Gleib's stand-up show and not make it sound like, oh, it was someone's bar mitzvah apparently, because there was a lot of Jewish stars out there. So point well taken, I think.
That's why I have a lot of respect for you, dear brother. You care about the awareness and expanding it. You're wrong on some stuff, Ben, but you and I have disagreed on some things before here. But I appreciate the authentic you, all right? We got more on the other side. Indisputable stick and stay.
Hey everyone, Mateo Scarapore here, author of Black Buck, which is Shop TYT's first fiction book ever. I'm honored. So, Black Buck is about a young man named Darren who's living in Bed-Stuy, Brooklyn. He lives with his mom, he has his girlfriend, he has his best friend, he has his neighborhood, and his neighborhood has him. Darren's also working at a Starbucks in Midtown Manhattan. And one day, this man, real suave and good looking, comes in and asks Darren to give him his regular. But for some reason, Darren says no. This man named Rhett Daniels, who's the CEO of a startup called Someone, located on the 36th floor of the same building, is impressed. And he invites Darren upstairs, and then he extends an offer to join his elite sales team. Darren reluctantly joins, and he soon realizes that he's not the only black salesperson there. He's the only black person in the entire company. So he goes through hell and back in order to make it to the top. And once there, he has status, money, power, but he says, you know what? I don't like being the token black guy. So he hatches a plan to help other people of color infiltrate America's tech startup sales teams, redefining what it means to be a minority in the workplace. This book definitely, if you couldn't tell, touches on many things that are relevant to this moment that we're all living in right now. But it's also connected to the many moments in history that have come before today. I hope that you read it. I hope that you enjoy it. And if you want to order a copy, go to shoptyt.com. Thank you, be well, and happy 2021.
Here's the inside scoop on diners in LA. You want good pastrami sandwich, you go to Factors. You want to see some people in the business, you go to Nate and Al's. You want the best variety? My secret spot's the Nosh. Now here's the inside scoop on politics and news. You go watch the Young Turks live every day at 6 o'clock Eastern.
All right, welcome back. Lot of show left. Greatly appreciate everyone always joining the conversation. Okay. Yep. Tisha Edwards says, why does it have to be about color? She could have just acknowledged that they were famous. Many white celebrities go to the BET award shows, and many black people go to the Grammys. Race wasn't needed. That the contextualization was improper for sure. Once again, I don't think malicious. She would have said it on ESPN if it was meant that way. But hopefully a learning lesson. Bobby, talking about the Miami cop, did she call back? That's right, you already asked it. Yes, we don't know yet. That's a good question to get an answer to. And Neon Death 07, will she be charged with a crime, basically? I doubt it. So you do have a duty to intervene law in the state, but it actually applies to other cops. The irony of that. Like she would have a duty to intervene if cops would have jumped on the guy by law, but obviously no duty to intervene by law if bicyclists do it. Wow. All right, hell of a thing. Hardened J6er now stands guard at a Tesla dealership, okay? Put him up full mass. In case you were wondering, where are they now? A pardoned J6 criminal with a history of far-right extremism now stands guard at Tesla dealerships. A self-identified 3%er who received a pardon from President Donald Trump for his role in the 2021 domestic terrorist attack on the U.S. Capitol, showed up over the past weekend to oppose a protest at a Tesla dealership in Chattanooga, Tennessee. Numerous anti-Tesla protests occurred over the weekend in Tennessee, and the self-identified 3%er, William Bills, showed up to oppose a protest against a Tesla dealership in Chattanooga, Tennessee. So a TikTok video posted by William F. Bills II shows him wearing a jacket with a 3%er patch while standing near the dealership on March 22nd. The same day that progressive activist groups, Indivisible Tennessee, led protests at 4 locations across the state. So the video has since been taken down. Here's a quote. So we're officially outside the Tesla plant here in Chattanooga, Tennessee. The 53-year-old Bill says, quote, and as you could tell, we took the cul-de-sac right here in Chattanooga. They have to drive by us to get in here. So all 3%ers across the United States, be very aware of what's going on with your Tesla dealerships. My goodness, I did not know you all cared so much. So Raw Story discusses or describes the 3%ers. I'm trying, y'all, to just get through these stories. All right, give me a moment. Okay. The 3%ers are a far-right vanguard extremist movement who adheres to the spiritual heirs of the American revolutionaries ready to use force to oppose so-called government tyranny. Since 2016, 3%ers have aligned with Donald Trump while embracing his attacks on the so-called deep states. Okay, fellas, I get that. I understand that. Don't agree with it, but why are you at the Tesla dealership? Who's in charge, man? I mean, who's your commander? I'm sure you have one. So Bills has a history of seeking confrontation. Yes. Go back to the picture, man. He was in confrontation with whoever took the picture. Look at that face. Bills has a history of seeking confrontation with left-wing activists at protests while aligning with neo-Nazis. In addition to claiming membership in the 3%er movement, Bills has described himself as a, quote, white nationalist, end quote, posting in a neo-Nazi channel on the social media platform Telegram. Bills once commented that Jews started Antifa until they got gassed and sent to the concentration camps. Ha ha, end quote. So let's talk about his role at the state capitol. All right, so Bills pleaded guilty in a September incident separate from this one. This was during the J6 riot, 2 misdemeanors he was charged with for his activity at the U.S. Capitol, including disorderly conduct in a restricted building or grounds. After leaving the Capitol on January 6th, the government alleges that Bills recorded a TikTok video in the building's eastern courtyard and posed for photos while sitting astride a U.S. Capitol Police motorcycle. Quote, so we officially took the White House, end quote, Bill said, confusing the executive building with its legislative counterpart in the TikTok video. Y'all know Bill ain't never been to DC. That was his first time. Being thoughts, man.
I mean, so many. I'm sitting here in my home studio and I've taken the White House as well.
Right.
So It's really good to know. These white nationalists that are just all about white supremacy never seem to be the impressive whites. They're always the very, very weird looking white people that I don't think do white people any favors in any way. And you point out perfectly the insane, not even hypocrisy, just straight idiocy of these organizations that are just there to give purpose to a bunch of very lost incels, it looks like. I mean, your movement is to stand with violence if necessary against government tyranny, and you've got a government that is currently as tyrannical as anyone we've had maybe in the history of this country. And instead of fighting against that, you're so aligned with it, you are protecting the car dealership of the unelected oligarch that is in charge of the entire government as he has taken over the government. You're like, it's cool, maybe we'll abandon the whole trying to protect the government and just go and do the bidding of the guy who owns the car company that's getting rid of the jobs and the safeguards and the benefits and the protections and the aid and the funding. It is just so stupid. Even if you are cool with the current government and you're a 3%er far-right vanguard extremist movement that believes you're the descendant of the American revolutionaries, the American revolutionaries didn't go and help protect George Washington's cherry tree business on the side. They just did the revolution. So these guys really need a hobby. You know, I'm rare to suggest they go back in the basement to keep playing Dungeons and Dragons, but it might be the time.
Yeah, I mean, Bill is obviously multifaceted in his leadership ability.
He's got a lot of skills, yep.
All right, we got more on the other side. It's indisputable stick and stay.
Hey everyone, Mateo Scaripo here, author of Black Buck, which is Shop TYT's first fiction book ever. I'm honored. So, Black Buck is about a young man named Darren who's living in Bed-Stuy, Brooklyn. He lives with his mom, he has his girlfriend, he has his best friend, he has his neighborhood, and his neighborhood has him. Darren's also working at a Starbucks in Midtown Manhattan. And one day, this man, who's real suave and good looking, comes in and asks Darren to give him his regular. But for some reason, Darren says no. This man named Rhett Daniels, who's the CEO of a startup called Someone, located on the 36th floor of the same building, is impressed. And he invites Darren upstairs, and then he extends an offer to join his elite sales team. Darren reluctantly joins, and he soon realizes that he's not the only black salesperson there. He's the only black person in the entire company. So he goes through hell and back in order to make it to the top. And once there, he has status, money, power, but he says, you know what? I don't like being the token black guy. So he hatches a plan to help other people of color infiltrate America's tech startup sales teams, redefining what it means to be a minority in the workplace. This book definitely, if you couldn't tell, touches on many things that are relevant to this moment that we're all living in right now. But it's also connected to the many moments in history that have come before today. I hope that you read it. I hope that you enjoy it. And if you want to order a copy, go to shoptyt.com. Thank you, be well, and happy 2021.
Here's the inside scoop on diners in LA. You want good pastrami sandwich, you go to Factors. You want to see some people in the business, you go to Nate and Al's. You want the best variety? My secret spot's the Nosh. Now here's the inside scoop on politics and news. You go watch the Young Turks live every day at 6 o'clock Eastern.
All right, welcome back. Always good to be with you. I'm going to read a couple of comments. Mark from Mark NYC says, "Is that a Hitler mustache on his forehead?" Talking about the Bills guy. No, I think he just looks like that. And Nitty Gritty says, I don't give a crap about the 3%. I don't know how this works. That Ben does it, like the 3%. Obviously, their job is to protect the 1%.
Exactly right.
I don't know. I've never heard of these guys. All right,
it's 2 additional percent there to protect the 1%.
That's right. Okay. Yeah, Mad Native Dragon. I thought MAGA was against electric vehicles. They were. Aren't they all saying drill, baby, drill to fill up their big lifted trucks? They're so confused, man. Hard to get into it. All right. Got a question for you. What in the red state hell?
You can take a gun, shoot somebody in the face. It's not hard. Sometimes it might even be fun if they're a godless commie.
Now, what they're trying to do is sneak the COVID vaccine in your salads.
I hate math. Somebody say amen.
And I believe that when you honor God on Passover, starting on April 12th at sundown through Good Friday on the 18th and concluding on Easter Sunday, you can receive these 7 supernatural blessings for you and your house. According to Exodus 23, God will assign an angel to you. He'll be an enemy to your enemies. He'll give you prosperity. He'll take sickness away from you. He will give you long life. He'll bring increase in inheritance, and he'll give a special year of blessing. You're not doing this to get something, but you're doing it in honor to God, realizing what you can receive.
For your special Passover offering of $1,000 or more as the Holy Spirit leads, you will also receive the beautiful 10-inch Waterford Crystal Cross. Don't miss your moment to release 7 supernatural blessings and provision into your life.
It's a damn shame. Put it up for a mass. There's so much I could say. Charlatan. Hypocrite. But truly, you're just conning people. People like you come a dime a dozen. Madam, I understand you are popular and famous, and people will clap back at me because they like you and you're a preacher, and for some reason that is supposed to excuse you from engaging in such activity and being accountable for it. So I will say this, individuals like her set up the framework for the manipulation that happens. There's a reason why the same people, with some exception in the Christian evangelical community, but that crowd is Trump's crowd. There's a reason, right? There's a reason. Indoctrination, manipulation. Now, do you remember when Paula White summoned angels to make Trump win, and he lost that election? But here it is.
For angels have even been dispatched from Africa right now. Africa right now. Africa right now. From Africa right now. They're coming here. They're coming here. In the name of Jesus, from South America. They're coming here. They're coming here. They're coming here. They're coming here. From Africa. From South America. Angelic forces. Angelic reinforcement. Angelic reinforcement. Angelic reinforcement. Pika hata anda ata. Ora bata rata ande eke eke manda rasata. For I hear the sound of victory.
Put the picture back up. Paula, your white privilege is multidimensional. You're taking angels from Africa. I think the angels that are in Africa are there because, well, they need to be in Africa. But you would be willing to take angels from Africa for one white man in the United States of America. Ben, Africa is a whole damn continent, sir. I'm sure the angels got better things to do.
I mean, yes. I mean, I love that. That's one of the points. Absolutely, the angels need to stay in Africa to do angel stuff over there. Also, I'd like to say this woman should be in jail, in my estimation. It is insane to be asking for $1,000 to give 7 blessings. So she now gets to decide what things and what people God gives blessings to, and has a specific list of 7 things. And I also love that now God's throwing in side gifts. According to Paula White-Cain, or as I call her, Paula White-Cain, God's giving out side prizes now. God's like, if you act now, you get this ShamWow towel to make your new crystal cross shine extra bright. It is so disgusting to prey on the faithful, to prey on people that don't have the kind of financial wherewithal and abilities that she has on account of scamming and stealing from people. And I guess when you have such moral emptiness inside of you as a faux spiritual leader, just there to literally steal directly from people, at some point you run out of the words to say it. And all you can say to share your heart with the people is aka, una, oka, ata, uta, tata, pupu, tata. I mean, this is what our spiritual leaders are sharing now. And I think it's a great message for this holiday season. And there's no holidays here right now.
That's exactly. Well said. Ben, always a pleasure having you on the program. Tell people how they can follow you, check out your great work.
Thank you, Doc. It's so nice to be with you. Hope you feel better soon.
Thank you, brother.
You can subscribe to my podcast, Last Week on Earth with Ben Gleib, on all podcast platforms. My guest this week is the amazing comedian Sam Jay, Saturday Night Live, former writer who had her own talk show on HBO. She's amazing. My guest next week, we just recorded it, is Baratunde. Used to be the head of the Daily Show Digital and writer, contributor for Puck. Amazing cultural commentator and funny human being. And follow me on Instagram at Ben Gleib, where I'm posting stand-up clips and doing all kind of things. I hope you guys enjoy.
Thank you for making us laugh, and thank you for making us think. Appreciate you, brother.
Anytime.
All right. Remember, take care of yourself, take care of each other, take care of the planet. Remember, the truth is always indisputable.